All right, Shalom Israel. Another wonderful day in the Virgin Islands. My wife and I are very thankful, Brother Yona and our Father, the Creator, who has uh, make it possible to do this teaching this morning. I don't know, I haven't fully understood, but the same day I started doing those teachings, my voice started giving me some problems. It's not a full-blown cold. But it's given me all sorts of problems. I had a little sore throat last week, and this week I'm stuffed up. So I'm gonna have to silence once in a while to try to clear the voice. I welcome everyone, and again, I'm very thankful to be your teacher this morning. Welcome. I just want to take a second and greet every one of you. I don't know the names. I think if we went through this list, we would be here a little while. But I welcome each and every one of you, and I hope and pray that, the teaching today would bless you. And I always ask for those of you who are blessed by it, that you wouldn't keep it in a book as part of your notes, but that you would learn it well enough that you would be able to teach it to someone. I must say that, not bragging, but I have attempted to show these very teachings to some of the church members, including the pastor where I used to go at one time. And for some reason, they're not interested. And I told them, listen, I'm not asking you to change anything. I'm not asking you to follow me. All I'm asking you is a few minutes that I can show you, what we have learned. But again, they're not interested. So the Bible tells us plainly, if those of your home don't want it, you're going to have to take it to the streets. And this is what we are doing. Hopefully that someone hearing my voice, whether on YouTube or whatever platform, that is looking for, let's say, the truth, or that's looking to see what else is available in this world, would hear these presentations. And as a matter of fact, I think it's already working, because I went on, I think it was evening to evening, and I saw a comment that somebody was very happy to see it, and that they was looking to do some changes in their lives because of it. So we all ought to thank the Father, not me, because by myself I cannot do anything. But using His words, you would be surprised the effects and the benefits of using the Father's words. Again, my name is Brother Felix. I have my wife here, Leah, that's going to help us with the presentation. And I just want you to know that what I'm going to present to you today was not something somebody taught me, or we sat down with books and studied. But as I try to find my way around, not believing in the luminaries or the calendar that the Father has set up for us, which are the luminaries, I was holding on to the man-made calendar, and I thought, well, what else could there be that is right? But as I studied these very things that I'm going to show you, I come to understand myself that the Father does not use these types of things to teach people, especially when He has left His instructions. If He left His instructions and He gave us the Torah, somebody else can write the Torah or the Torah or whatever. That doesn't concern us. What we need to look at is what He has left. And again, we're going to take a look at that. We have looked at evening to evening last week. The week before, we did the evening and the morning. And to start out, we did day and night. So today we are going to look at the Roman calendar. It's a very big presentation, because when I do it, I want to try to cover as much as I can. I don't like giving people one verse and make a doctrine or teaching out of one verse. So if I am teaching, you're gonna have to be very patient because I'm gonna give you a book full. So we're gonna do the Roman calendar part 1, and we divided it into 3 parts, like I said, because there's quite a bit in it. We don't want to give you too much at one time, and then you're misplaced. I figure if we did it a little at a time, it would be better. So let us begin our presentation this morning. And again, welcome everybody. And we are very happy to have you. Okay, this is me a lot of years ago. And I think we did that presentation some time back. The loony or the lunatic Sabbath. Wow. When discussing or even making mention of the lunar Sabbath, or what we will have to change, I think we'll do a little change here based on what the brother said. I think it was a good idea. The calendar of the luminaries instead of the loony calendar, but this was already written. So I figured let's just do it that way for the last, and then after that we will change it. But when discussing or making mention of the loony solar or the lunar Sabbath, and again, those listening for the first time, we said that the lunar Sabbath is short for or representing all of the luminaries, the sun, the moon, and the stars. Okay, so many times we say lunar Sabbath and people think, well, it's only the moon, but it's not so. If you use only any one of them, you are going to be wrong. They all have to be read together. We have first, second, and third witness. So they all work together. So you are immediately set apart by the world as loonies. They then refer to you as loony ticks. And I have seen many videos about that. And something tells me we are doing something good. Remember when you were young and going to school, you were made fun of because you were different? Some of us are still in school and still being made fun of. If your eyes were different, you were laughed at. If you had a body imperfection, you were laughed at. If your fashion was not up to their code, you were laughed at. If you just didn't match up to the bully's expectation, you became his target. Well, you would think as grown-ups, the bullying would be gone or go away. But let me tell you, no. The only thing that went away is the clothes that they were wearing. Now they have changed to bigger clothes because their bodies have gotten bigger. And now the platform has even gotten bigger. We now have television, we have the internet, we have Facebook, and you can go down the line calling all the various different things. And many times I see people reading their Facebook, some are happy, but some walk away very sad because of what somebody is saying that they didn't like. Well, these platforms are now used by the bullies. So the bullies are now using all of these platforms. You would think you couldn't find them in churches or in various religious groups, but this is where you find the holy bullies. Okay, so those in church, I call them holy bullies because they do the same exact job, except they claim to be holy. Many of us are offended by them, but we shouldn't be. Remember from the beginning, Yahuwah has set apart a people for his name. Yahuwah has dressed us and fed us differently from the heathen, and told us who we can marry and who we cannot. He has instructed us how to keep feasts unto his name. When the world is able to see and hear the difference in us, they will automatically separate themselves from us. Most cases, people think we have to separate ourselves from them. But believe me, when they see who you are, they see your head covered, and they see, you know, the ways of life is different, the way you speak, and all these things, immediately they're going to move themselves from you. They don't want to be caught up with us. Count this as a blessing and not a curse. Our Bible tells us that we should expect this treatment from the world. If we look at Matthew 5, verse 11 to 16, it tells us that. Be ready to carry this burden or this way of life we have adopted from Messiah. To many of us, it's a burden not because we don't like it, but again, our ways of life has been changed by him. Our fruits are different. So it turns out to be a weight that we need to carry again because the world is not with us. I just saw a note from one of the brothers that he has to be in the plantation today. And I mean, it is sad, but what can we do? We are living under their system. They call the shots. And again, we need to try our best where we are not, where we don't have to be that dependent on them. We have to be able to help ourselves in various ways that we can perform and do what the Father have asked us. Let's go to our next slide. Matthew 10, verse 38 says,
And he that take not his cross and follow me, after me, it is not worthy of me.
Okay, so here you are. If you are not worthy to take up the burden, this way of life, the Messiah is saying that you are not worthy of him. So again, it is not an easy way. We are going to be hurt all the way. Seeing that we are under the curse of Deuteronomy, we can see that we have to pay the penalties for what our forefathers did. You are the children of Israel. He has scattered us among the heathen and has sent his son to redeem us and is now regathering his people. He has gone to prepare a place for us that he might receive us unto himself. And that's found in John 14, verse 1 to 3. So I want to tell you, lift up your head up high and live for him your best life, because of the hope we have in the risen Messiah, that one day we all will be resurrected to life everlasting and reign with him forevermore. That is a hope that the world does not have. Most times you ask them what would be a condition after death, and they say, well, who knows? Some will tell you, well, I don't care. But as people of the Most High, we have a hope that one day he's going to come back to redeem us, that we will live with him forever. And we will question the source of your food. Is it from Yah or someone else? So your teachings, where are they from? Is it from the mother church? Is it from, well, a lot of people say, no, it's not from the mother church because it's from First Assembly or whatever. But again, it is the mother and they are all her children. So again, let us continue. This presentation is lengthy and you can easily fall behind. That's why we kind of break it up in a couple of pieces so that it would be easier to follow. But it is necessary to prove or disprove some of what we have been taught. It covers, number one, the early Roman calendar. That term is, you need to be aware of. The early Roman calendar was before the Julian, which we will look at also, and the Julian was before the Gregorian calendar, or the Catholic or the Christian calendar, which we have today. Okay, so we're going to look at all three of them. We're not going to do it all at once, but we'll look at them one at a time and see what we can learn from each one. This presentation is different than the previous two in that it is more historical than biblical. So we're not going to do much Bible verses, although we will touch it, but this one we will do more history than Bible. Yahweh's calendar, was it for primitive time? Some people will tell you yes. Has it become obsolete? Some will say yes. Or outdated, okay, obsolete, outdated, yes. Some will tell you yes. Or should these people step up to man's modern Christian calendar? And again, some people will tell you yes, we need to forget about these things from ages ago and let's use what we have today. Can we use it? Can we use it to calculate feasts or Sabbaths? How about history or prophecy? The answer is no. You cannot use a new calendar or today's calendar to calculate the things of the past. And this is why we have so much problems, because everybody's trying to apply today's calendar. Let's see, the Messiah died on Wednesday because whatever. So these things are not going to work because you are using the wrong formula. I think all of us had math and they show you every formula for whatever you're going to do. If you use the wrong formula, don't matter how hard you try, your equation is going to be off balance. Most believe that Yahuwah had a second calendar driven by the sun. And up to yesterday, I was looking at somebody's presentation and he's telling you, yes, the feast, they will tell you, yes, is controlled by the moon. But the 7-day Sabbath is controlled by the sun. And of course, there's no scriptures to show you that. Based on its structure, you are bound to fail because this calendar wasn't available till 1582 and 1752 AD in the United States. So before 1752, there was no Roman calendar. And a lot of people doesn't know that because, again, I look at a presentation some time ago by a very large group, and they was trying to prove to you that Messiah had this calendar around at the time of his existence. That was not so, okay? The Messiah was born way before 1752. Let's be like the Bereans. Again, in that they received the word with all readiness of mind. So we need to be in a position where we are ready to receive. I know most of you all are. And those who are not usually turn away and turn things off. Again, I was looking at YouTube at one of my presentations and somebody said, I'm confused. I'm going to go back to what I already knew. Okay, so he wasn't ready. His mind wasn't ready to receive. He wasn't ready to search. So what can I say? But again, our search has to be daily, as much as you can. We cannot search once every 3 weeks, or when you hear something, then you search. Our search has to be daily all the time. And we have to spend some time in our Bibles that we can learn and be able to teach others. We have a warning here. Statements and scriptural facts made in this presentation may be dangerous to your religion, your headquarters, your pastor or pastors, your beliefs, your friends and associates. These presentations are written to bash or beat, or I learned a new word while watching some other videos, to cut. We're not in the business of cutting anybody. Let's do that again. This presentation aren't written to bash or beat or cut up any, or to prove that I am smarter than anyone else. Instead, it was written so that you can take a hard look at yourself and make the necessary changes to line up yourself with the word of Yahuwah and to put you back on course for the Messiah and save yourselves from this destructive world of blind leaders. Okay, so the presentation is here to help you find yourself. When Brother Felix showed you something, it's up to you to look at it. I have always said, I'm not asking anybody to take anything or everything that I say. First of all, you ought to prove what I'm saying, look at it and see if it makes any sense. Usually we give you 3 or 4 verses that you can compare to what I'm saying. And we hope that is what we all are doing. Now, this presentation, we saying earlier that you're going to have a little problem with not just the presentation, but the way that you live on the whole. As we mentioned earlier, if you believe in the luminaries, for some reason people feel that you're a fool or you don't understand what's going on or some kind of something. So again, as you start practicing these things, you are going to be isolated. I saw another presentation where somebody was teaching to stay away from the lunar Sabbath. Whatever you do, stay away from this thing. And he went on to say that his daughter was showing some interest in it, and he had to put some sense into her. And sometimes I look at that and I say, wow, it's amazing that we have gallons and gallons of water, but we're not drinking it because somebody else is guarding it. So again, if people are saying all these types of stuff about it, that should give you a reason to take a closer look. The warning continues. Please don't take offense. Many are many are blind, not because they choose to be. We didn't choose, to be blind. Many of us were raised up in certain societies, parents or whatever, schools, and this is what they taught us. And we being nice people, we felt, well, why would they show us something that was wrong? Okay, so some are blind because of what they were taught. Okay. They accepted it and refused to study the word for themselves and prove all things. That is very important. If you're going to accept anything, you need to study for yourself. Even what you was given, although what you were given looks like gold, sometimes when you take a closer look, you'll find out there's a term, fool's gold. You may not have the right thing. And again, many people might say, well, I am the one who has the fool's gold. But that's fine, because we can prove, we can put our gold on the scale and prove per pound and size what it is. We can put our gold in the fire and see what happens. Can you do the same with yours? Don't continue to follow men just because they are leaders, but instead take up your cross, which is the same burden we said earlier, the way of life living with the Messiah, especially when you put in the luminaries in that mix. You're out for a lot of trouble. You're going to lose some friends. You're going to lose some neighbors. You're going to lose mommy. You're going to lose daddy. But that doesn't mean you are doing something wrong. You ought to stand by yourself. Now, let me just say, some people are affected with this a little more than they need to. And let me tell you why. When you choose your husband or your wife or your friend or whatever you choose in life, it doesn't matter what mom say, it doesn't matter what dad say, it doesn't matter what the school says. This is who you love and this is what you're going to do, right? So in the same thing, when you decide this is the way you want to live your life, you believe the luminaries are there for a reason and you want to use it, regardless of who says, you gotta hold on to what you believe. You cannot believe it's brown and then when somebody says something, you believe it's blue. That's not good. You gotta be of a strong mind. You gotta know what you want and go for it. Okay? We're saying again, let's take it back up. Let's start up again. Don't continue to follow men just because they are leaders, but instead take up your cross and follow Yeshua, the Messiah. Because at the end of this journey, you will have to give an account to Yahuwah why you followed man instead of his words, or instead of the pattern that Messiah had left for us. Does Elohim have a calendar? Most Bible believers have no idea that the Creator has a calendar and that he has ordained it at creation to observe his seasons or his feast. We find that in Genesis 1 verse 14.
Genesis 1:14, and Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for season and for days and for years.
Okay, so there we are, and I always say we got to take a look at this verse very closely. He set them up for signs, not one. Many people forget about the others and they tell you, well, the moon is not important. It doesn't shine enough. Most times you cannot find it. And they make 1,000 excuses why you should not use the moon. Most people love the sun because they can see it all day. And they'll tell you, let's follow the sun. When the sun disappears at night, they are blind because there's no other way for them to know what's going on. The stars, most people don't even see them. They don't even look because it's not important. But our Bible is telling us that he put all of them there for his seasons, his signs, his feast, and so on. So it is not just one, but all of them. When asked about the Creator's calendar, most people have no idea what it is or where it comes from. Some will tell you, well, I heard somebody say specifically that this was set up by white people to lead people astray, okay? So these are the type of comments that you hear. There are few which have heard of it, but have not understood the concept of how it works, okay? So some people, though they know and heard about it, I see posts where people say, oh, I would like to know more about the luminaries. They don't know what it stands for, how to read them, what they're for, and how they should follow. I have a little note there that says this will be covered in full. It says the next presentation, but that's not going to be. But I guarantee you we will get to it. Okay, again, we try to keep everything separate. We don't want to mix them up because when you mix things up, it's very easy to get confused. So I ask you, is the Creator's calendar for today? Seeing Elohim has said that it will never pass away. Let's read Jeremiah 31, 35, and 36.
Jeremiah 31, 35. Thus saith Yahuwah, which giveth the sun for the light by day, and the ordinance of the moon and the stars for the light by night, which divided the sea when the waves thereof roar. Yahuwah of hosts is his name.
Okay, so there we are. We see that it is not a day thing only, where you read the day or the sun only, but it's also the moon and stars. Has Yahweh done away with his calendar, special days, and is now recognizing the Roman, Gregorian, or the Muslim, or the Chinese, or any other calendar developed by man, and the special days? Again, some people will tell you yes. Or is Yahuwah going to adopt to your style, your laws, your beliefs, and cast his aside? Do we really believe that the Father who put those luminaries in place to show us his signs, what time is day, what time is night, what time you should worship, and so on, do you really believe that he's going to put that away and then follow what I say, which I prefer? Oh, I love the sun, so I'm going to use the sun. I'm going to do everything according to the sun, and then the Father will follow. Do you think that's how it works? Is this where the Creator became a Christian? And I put this here because most people that are Christian believe that the Bible is Christian. So therefore, they make everything Christian, even the Father. And I tell you, it's not worth laughing at because the Father is not a Christian, believe me. The world teaches us today that there are many religions, but we all worship the same God. And that there are many roads, no matter which one you follow, they all lead to heaven. The question is, can we find this anywhere in our Bibles? And the answer is no. Again, man has decided how he wants to do things in life, and he figures that the Father will follow, but it doesn't work that way. You follow him. He is the potter, he says. You are the clay. The clay does not say, listen, potter, I need to be this or I need to be that. So you don't decide what day you're going to worship and then tell the potter what you want. It does not work that way. What does the Creator calendar looks like? We'll take a quick peek here. And for those who don't know or is seeing it for the first time, this is what it looks like. And we have the left and we have the right. Okay, so if you read from the right or you read from the left, it's the same thing. All right, so we will cover that in full again in one of our presentations. Don't worry about it. We will show you from number 1 to day 30 how it should be read, what it is, and all of that. The Creator's calendar, the luminaries, was made to give light upon the earth, both during the day and at night. They separate day from the night. They also exist to make significant events such as his holy days, his signs, his wonders to his people, Israel. I made a mistake again. Let's do that again. They also exist to mark significant events such as his holy days, his signs, his warnings to his people Israel. He, Yahuwah, is reflected in this calendar when he asks us to rest on the 7th day as he did himself, or as he rested. Man's calendar was also designed by them to reflect the power of the papacy or Rome and show their authority among the heathens. So we have 2 calendars. One is designed by the Father, and he shows you his holy days and so on through his calendar. Now we have man's calendar, which is designed by Rome for their people. So we cannot be half-half. We cannot use the Father's calendar for certain things and then we use the Roman calendar or man's calendar to find our Sabbaths. It just cannot work that way. Remember, the calendar you reverence or respect shows which master you serve. The servant will keep his master's holy days or holidays and feast. The question again is, whose holy days are you keeping? Man's calendar and their holy days. Down to your left, designed by man, has failed and has been changed and will continue to fail and be changed with time. Now, there's a lot of people who don't believe that, but we will show you in our presentation as we go that man's calendar has failed and will continue to fail. And here are the list of some of the holidays. We cannot list all because I would need a couple of pages. But we put some of the main ones like New Year's Day. That is the day that you get drunk and fall over the place. And you're happy because you saw another year. As we go through the presentation, we'll see that New Year's was in March, not January. January did not exist. But don't say too much. We'll show you as we go. We have Epiphany. We have Columbus Day, Good Friday, which is a very good day to say. The other Fridays seems to be bad because this one is good. Thanksgiving Day. We have Black Friday. Somebody say, wow, Black Friday too. Yeah. St. Patrick's Day. Mardi Gras or Mardi, what is it? Mardi Gras or Mardi Gras. St. Valentine's Day, Labor Day, we have Easter, we have Sunday, every Sunday. Halloween, we have Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas, and every Sunday. Like I said, that is not the whole list, but you get the idea. The Creator's calendar, designed by our Creator, has never failed or been changed, and continues to guide Yahuwah's people as designed. So what this is saying is that if you spoke to your great-grandmother 300 years ago, she would tell you the moon, the sun, and the stars are doing the same thing every month. It has not changed. It still points you to the feast days. It still points you to the Sabbaths. It still points you to the beginning of day and the end of day. Still does it. I was taught that from creation till present, that Saturday has always been the seventh day of the week and therefore the holy Sabbath day. And that we have had a continuous weekly cycle that has never been broken, changed, or lost. I now know that this statement can easily be proven false. This will continuously be proven in this presentation. Okay? Who determines the seventh day, or when the seventh day or the Sabbath will be? Remember Saturday and keep it holy. Do we find that in our Bibles? Okay, so who determines when the Sabbath will be? Is it Rome? Is it your state? Is it your religious leaders or groups? It shouldn't be, but on the most part it has been. There are many groups who have sat down and decided which books of our scriptures will be given to us. They determine what the Messiah's name will be. They determine what day is the Sabbath. They determine when you die, are you going to be going to heaven? They determine, just about everything. And they teach it as a Christian doctrine. And many of us have no idea and believe that they are teaching us the Bible. Let's spend a little time with the Jews. The Jews have never lost the Sabbath. I remember I spoke to one of my previous sisters, one who taught me quite a bit in the faith. And this is the statement she gave me when I told her about the Sabbath. She said the Jews have never lost the Sabbath. But unknowing to her, she has no idea who the Jews are. When addressing the Sabbath, most people are quick to say the Jews have never lost the Sabbath. Though it might seem convenient to say this, let me point out a few things. When serving Yahuwah, never follow blindly any man, religious group, headquarters, or even your pastor. In our lifetime, we have had many examples why we should not follow any man blindly, and the word is blindly. There are people who are going to lead you to the promised land. That is why we have Paul, we have Peter, we have all the others who has given us various books. We have our Messiah, which we can follow. But the word here is blindly. Don't just follow because the group is going there. I have a sister that goes there, so let me see what's going on there. That's not good. You need to find out what's going on and see if it's within what your Bible says. And if it is, then I'm sorry, you can look. But if it does have nothing to do with the Messiah, then you would be going the other way. Number one, I have Jim Jones, perhaps the most infamous cult leader of modern America. Now, a lot of people may not know who that is, but again, you can Google and see why we have him on the list. Number two, we have David Koresh, the Branch Davidian compound. He was the leader and has caused a lot of people to lose their lives. You have Marshall Applewhite. Remember Hale Bopp, the Comet? I think he was one of the leaders that made people drink poison and expecting to escape to, what was it, a ship? what's the right word? A UFO or something like that, of that sort, that would take them away into heaven somewhere. So all these people lose their life. We have Jose Luis de Jesus, the 666 man, I call him. He claimed to be both the return phase of Jesus Christ, his words, and the Antichrist. How that works, I'm not sure. I'm not interested either. So I think his daughter now is the one who's leading that group, and all its members have 666 written on their bodies, multiple places. Think again. Can you tell me why to this day that the Jews, the people that is called the Jews, are not observing his new moons, the Father's new moons? Why are they not observing it? It is written that Yahuwah would cause Israel, that is us, to forget his Sabbaths, his feast days, and his new moons. Again, people will tell you, yes, it's good to keep the Sabbath, it's good to keep the feast, but they forget this part, or for some reason, they are not able to focus on these two words, new moon. They don't want to have anything to do with that. If you forget Yahuwah's calendar, then everything is lost. Your feast and your holy days, your Sabbaths, and your beginning of months will all be wrong. We have showed you this in previous teaching, and we'll continue to show you why this is. Think again. Can you claim that the Jews, are worthy to follow, or to follow after, actually? So tell me, why aren't you keeping Passover and the rest of the feasts like they are? Why don't you use his holy, forbidden name instead of the Roman Catholic name, Jesus? Why do you drive to church on Saturday while the Jews walk? Do you realize that they are still waiting for the Messiah's first coming? Should you really follow those who have yet to believe and accept Yeshua as Messiah? So the question is now, why only the Sabbath? When you talk to people, they refer the Jews to you, and they tell you, well, the Jews have always kept the Sabbath, the Jews this, the Jews that, but they don't do anything else. They drive to church, the Jews don't drive. Why don't you walk also? I mean, if you follow in the Jews, you follow the Jews. But if you follow in the scriptures, you cannot follow the scriptures and then quote the Jews. Many follow the Jews blindly, believing that they have always been Yahuwah's chosen people. Therefore, they must have the Sabbath correct. And yes, there's a lot of people led astray by this because they will not study the Bible, not realizing that the so-called Jews are not Hebrews. Let's say that they were the true people. After looking at the sinful lifestyle today, what did the Father promise would befall a disobedient people, or Israel? Did he promise if they were disobedient and broke his laws that they would be the most prosperous people in the world? Was that what he promised? As we read Deuteronomy 28:15, you will see that's not what it says. It says that they would be cursed. And as we go down the list, I guess as you take a look at it, you go down the list and you will see that these people does not meet up to what the list says or was listed. Are they accursed people today? No, they're not. Don't they own everything? Yep, they own everything more than you believe. Banking and insurance industry, they own. TV, news industry, they own. Manufacturing, and a whole lot of other stuff they own. So that should tell you, be careful. That should give you, what's the right word? That should give you a little hint that something is wrong. You can read what was promised to a disobedient people. Okay, read what was promised to a disobedient people as you read Deuteronomy 28. So Hosea 2:11 is true prophecy saying that we don't even know who we are. We have forgotten his Sabbaths, we have forgotten his feast days, and we have forgotten his new moons. And are now looking to a Gentile calendar for direction instead of looking to our Creator. So as we begin to wake up as Israel, we are beginning to keep the Father's Sabbaths, some on the wrong day, but we are trying. Some are keeping feast again, but they cross out the new moons. They don't want to have anything to do with that. And that by itself should give us or urge us to ask ourselves the question, why would we do the others but cross out the new moon? Okay, so that we need to think of. Yeshua didn't approve of their ways, that is the Jews, 200 years ago. They opposed him every step of the way. They wanted to kill him, and he warned in Mark 7, verse 8, for laying aside the commandments of Yahuwah, you hold the tradition of men. Notice the Greek word paradosis used here can also be translated ordinances, precepts, or laws, rather than tradition. So you can read this by ejecting these new words. For laying aside the commandments of men, you hold the ordinances or the precepts or the laws of man. And when he said that, they didn't like it. So believe me, brethren, when we say that today, you're going to get the same effect. They're going to try to get rid of you the same way, because you are telling them when you keep man's calendar, you are keeping man's law, you are keeping man's precepts, and you are keeping man's ordinances. They don't like that. Saturday's Sabbath. Saturday is not the Bible or biblical Sabbath day. It never was, it never will be. Using the Gregorian Christian calendar, the Saturday Sabbath will always conflict with the feast of Yahuwah. We showed you earlier how they conflict, and we'll continue to show you how they conflict. So it is, we can see there is something wrong. If we try to squeeze in the Christian calendar or the man-made calendar to keep the Father's feast, everything will be wrong. Why would Yahuwah give his people a Sabbath day that has to be broken to observe his feast? Okay, some feasts fall on, well, let's do it when we get there. But again, the feast will fall in conflict with other feasts as they are kept according to the Gregorian calendar. It says we will prove this later. A calendar based on the luminaries, you must be crazy. And this is the things people will tell you. Have you ever thought about asking the Jews for their proof? And again, this is very good, because when you try to show people things written in our Bible, they are quick to tell you to prove it. They want proof. They want you to ask, they ask you for proof, which is good. And anybody who shows you anything, you should ask them for proof. Have you ever questioned your pastor or your church, your headquarters, or even the same Jews? Most times you ask, if you would question the Jews, people would find it's out of place to question the Jews. So again, if you question in myself, I think it is also good to question your teacher, your pastor, the Jews, and whoever else you look for instruction. Now, let me just tell you, I did question in the beginning of my walk, I did question my priest. I was about 14 years old, and my mom sent me to church on Sundays, and I knew that was not the Sabbath. There was something wrong with that. So one day after service, I met the priest and I asked him about the Sabbath. Did you change the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday? Because that's what I was taught. And the priest laughed and he said, no, we wouldn't do something like that. And it is good to question, because unless you question, you are not going to know the truth. Jewish people don't have it. And when we say Jewish, we all know what we're talking about. The Hebrews were given the Creator's calendar from the beginning of time. This is why Yahuwah told them to keep the feast. For example, the Passover on the 14th day of the first month, or the first lunar month. Did you hear them ask, what is that? Yeah? They didn't ask because they already knew how to use the moon to observe Yahuwah's feast days and other things that I guess would come up. So if they had it back then and don't have it now, wouldn't you agree that they lost it? Or we lost it, in fact, not they, but we lost it. Because the Bible tells us, because of our hardness of our hearts, he was going to take it from us and he would cause us to forget. And this is where we are today. And we have forgotten so much that we doubt the truth. The unbroken cycle. Many believe that Rome has changed the beginning of the year from March to January and have changed the beginning of the day to midnight, or from whatever time they had it to midnight. But that's not all. They have also changed the calendar from having 30 days to 29 or 28, 29, 30, 31 days. And as we go on, we'll show you that there were months with way more than that. The unbroken cycle, they have dropped all of Yahuwah's holy days. They tell you that these things were nailed to the cross. You no longer need to keep them. Claiming that they were nailed to the cross and have replaced them with their own holidays or holy days. Yet you don't believe that the calendar has changed? Can one make all these significant adjustments and yet maintain an unbroken or unchanged cycle? Is this possible? Let's further see. Have you ever heard of the year of confusion? The year of confusion, I think most people never heard of it. Let's look at it and see what it is. Go ahead.
The year of confusion was put into effect by Julius Caesar. His goal was not to create confusion, but to end the confusion that existed. Okay, hold a second there. So there we see, there was some, when we're talking about this confusion, we are talking about the calendar system. That's what we're dealing with. So he's saying that there was confusion. Now, Caesar is going to fix the confusion. Okay, let's go ahead. Now, if Julius Caesar was confused then, do you think with all these changes he made to the calendar, plus those made after him, one day can tell certain that one today can tell for certain that they know for sure that Saturday has always been the seventh day of the week? Okay, so
What we are saying here is that there was a confusion when Julius Caesar took position or office. So he is going to clean up the confusion that there was. We're going to see what the confusion is. But I just want you to keep in mind that he met confusion, and he was going to fix the confusion. And after he left, there was still confusion. So keep all that in mind. Let's continue. Here's what caused the confusion. The early Roman calendar, when he took office, that's what was in place. The calendar started the year with March, or Matthias, and consists of 10 months. So the year had 10 months, with 6 months containing 30 days and 4 months containing 31 days. The winter season was not assigned to any month. So the winter was wild. There was no month to tell you, well, this is winter. So the calendar year only lasted 304 days, with 61 days unaccounted for in the winter. The next year began in the spring at the sighting of, maybe we shouldn't use that word, the new moon. So here it is, you can see that they were using the new moon because this was what flagged. They don't want to use it today, but this is what showed you when the year began, so that Rome now would begin the year because of the new moon. But let's look on the left. If you look on the left side at the little diagram that I have here, you would see 0 with question marks. And there's 2 of them. That is the winter months. There's no month assigned to them, just 61 days floating. And again, how they would know that the winter has ended, they would cite the new moon, the same new moon that we don't want to look at today. The first month was March, or Matthias. Then we had Aprilus, which was April, Maius, Lunius.
You can always use a pointer, Brother Felix.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I always forget to...
There you go. There you go.
All right, here we are. Sextius, which is the 7th, September, Septembrius, Octobrius, Novembrius, and then we had Decembrius. And the year was finished. So we would wait till the new moon appeared after here, and then we would show where Matthias or March would be. A little more on that a little later. We will touch that a little later. I may have to come back there to show you 1 or 2 things. Unbroken, unchanged cycle. Yep, some people would like to believe that. Incomplete calendars. Read for us, Leah.
Calendars may be either complete or incomplete.
Mm-hmm.
Complete calendars provide a way of naming each consecutive day, while incomplete calendars do not. The early Roman calendar, which had no way of designing the days of the winter, designating the days of the winter months, other than to lump them together as winter, is an example of an incomplete calendar, while the Gregorian calendar is an example of a complete calendar.
Okay, so we have 2 calendar structures, and it's telling us that the one I just showed you, because it was not continuous, it has a big space between, for the winter months, it was not continuous, so it was incomplete. But the complete one was the one that Caesar put together for us, and they fill in the blank, let's say. So therefore, it is a complete calendar. Okay, we're still under unbroken, unchanged cycle, incomplete calendars. Do you realize that no one knows or knew what day it was during the winter season? Wow. So if you were born during the winter, there was no way to say, well, April was born in March, or I'm sorry, not March, but January or February, or even past of March. So I guess you had no birthday, or you could just say I was born sometime in the winter. If the Roman Empire didn't know what day it was, how did they keep an unbroken or
Unbroken, unchanged.
unchanged, I'm sorry, let's do that again. If the Roman Empire didn't know what day it was, how did they keep an unbroken or unchanged cycle? How was Saturday preserved? That is a question for all of us. If the government doesn't know what day it is, how would you know? I guess those who followed the lunar Sabbath knew exactly what day it was or what time of the year. Sabbath day, the first day of an 8-day week. Wait, Leah. Days.
The days were marked with letters in a cycle of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. To mark an 8-day week, day 1 was designated to be an anniversary of the temple, thought of as the birthday of a deity.
Okay, so what we're saying here, or what the slide is saying, out of the 8-day week, and there was an 8-day week before, and the first day of it was dedicated to the temple, anniversary of the temple, thought of as the birthday of a deity or a god. Okay, so the first day was designated as the birthday of a god, basically. Let's see what else happened on that first day. Okay, on our right. On A, remember that the calendar did not have 1, 2, 3, 4. That calendar we are talking about had A through H, 8 days. On day A, which was the first day, Dias religios. Say it in English, religious, okay? Okay, so the first day was the religious day. Individuals were not to undertake any new activities on that day, nor do anything other than tend to their most basic necessities, okay? So that was their Sabbath. It may not have been as the Sabbath we observe from our Father, but they had their ways of keeping their Sabbath. Holidays became less important, and the birthdays and anniversaries of the emperor and their family gained prominence as Roman holidays. Okay, so what they are saying here is that the holidays was basically for the emperors and their families. So they were people who partied and partied and partied. Please notice that there was no Saturday or Sunday on this calendar, okay? So keeping it together would be a real job. Name value placement for the months. You can see the proof of that by looking at those months which still hold their numerical name values. Like September, September Septimo 7 was the 7th month, but today it is no longer so, it is the 9th month. October, which is octi, like octagon or octopus, which is 8, used to be the 8th month, but today it is the 10th. November used to be 9, but today it is the 11th month. And December, DEC, in Latin means 10, used to be the 10th month. Now it is 12. Have we ever asked ourselves why that is? The reason why we said was there was no months in the winter. January and February was added around 700 BCE to this calendar, pushing these months out of their name values, okay? So when they added January and February to the calendar, it moved the previous ones up, Okay, so September is no longer 7, it is 9 and so on. So we will look at that again and we will see how that came into play. Here's what caused the confusion. Remember we said Caesar came in and there was a bunch of confusion and he was going to fix that up. So before Caesar's time, the Roman often added or removed days from their calendar without any scientific reason. It's my birthday, let's add a day. And whatever. It's my wife's birthday, let's add 2 days. Okay, so that was the kind of thing. There was no scientific reason for adding. The question is, loved ones, where is Saturday in all of this? Okay, so as we add, or as they added days to the calendar and had a good time, was Saturday still preserved? We will see. Caesar wanted to reform the Roman calendar, but there was a problem. The calendar was so far off track that the months and holidays were no longer in their traditional seasons. Okay, so those seasons began to stray. We're still looking at what caused the confusion. For us, it would be like having Thanksgiving in September. This had been caused by decades of sloppy calendar keeping and by the fact that lunar calendars do not follow the seasons. Okay, now I didn't put the lunar calendar business in there. That is part of the quote that I took from my studies. So that tells you that there was a lunar calendar in place before all of this. Regardless, Saturday, do you think did it still keep its original place? Some people still say yes. Okay, let's continue. Caesar decided to return the months to their normal seasons before introducing, I guess, his new calendar. It says a new calendar, but I would say his new calendar. To do this, Caesar followed the advice of an Egyptian astronomer named Sojournes and added 90 days to the year that was known as 46 BC. So he added 90 days to the year. It became the longest leap year in history. But again, they're not going to tell you that. They're going to tell you, well, that was a long time ago. Why don't you forget about that? But if you do forget about it, you'll never know what went on. Do you still believe that Saturday wasn't affected? Some people will still tell you, yes, it wasn't affected. Caesar divided the 90 extra days, 90 days, 90, not 19, 90 days into 3 temporary months. 1 month was added between February, another one was added between March, or between February and March. 2 other months were added after November. The year 46 BC had 15 months and was 445 days long. So this is why, or this is what, sorry. So this is why it was called the year of confusion, okay? So there we are. I'll bet most of us never heard of that because they want to keep us out of the confusion. But in order to know where you stand and where you are and where Saturday is in all of this, you must be able to understand that. Again, can anyone in their right mind tell me that with all these changes, that Saturday remained perfectly in its 7th-day position? Hang on. I'll show you many more reasons why it didn't or why it couldn't. Okay, there we have a little calendar system on the screen, and to keep up with your days, you would have to put little pegs in the center would be a month. You could see Aquarius and Pisces and, oh, let me point. In the middle here, you'll see the bull. I think that's Taurus. I'm not too versed in this. I know the 2 fishes is Pisces and so on. And you would put your peg over here to show you what month you were in. And then over here, I believe that is the days. And over here on your left would be, what is this? The day of the month or something. And, oh, I'm sorry, I think this would be the month, and on your left would be the days, okay? So the year would be in the middle. There's a pin in the middle. And as you go through the year, I guess you would move your pin from one place to the next as the month goes by, and so on. I'm not sure. But if you read up on it, it will tell you exactly how it was done. The Bible declares that he would think to change times and laws. Daniel 7:25, this scripture has taken many, not just Christians, unaware. Many teach that this is speaking about Constantine and Pope Gregory or Pope Sylvester I in 314 to 335 AD, when they changed the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday. We know that in the year 321 AD, Constantine decreed on the venerable day of the sun, which is Sunday, let the magistrates, the people residing in cities rest. Okay, they made it an official rest day. And let all the workshops be closed. I think in New Jersey and some places, there's still the commerce. I think certain things cannot be sold. I think just food, at least when I used to live there. You could only buy food and so on. The clothing and the rum shops and this stuff would be closed. Changes to times and laws. It should be noted that in doing this, Constantine is not changing the Sabbath from one day to another. He's merely making Sunday the official day of rest for the Roman Empire, not the whole world. This false argument originated with the Seventh-day Adventist inspired prophetess Ellen G. White. Again, I quoted from her book. It's there, the early writing of Ellen G. White. You can Google that. It is free. You don't have to pay for it. On page 33 is where you would find that quotation. Again, on page 65 of the same book, Miss White says, the Pope has changed the day of rest from the seventh to the first day, for he was to change times and laws. That is what she said, but I don't agree with that. But I'll tell you why. Can anyone change Yahuwah's heavenly calendar, his times and laws? No, they can't. Read, Leah.
While many believe her claim that she received this information in a vision from God, and knowing that God can't provide false information, they follow. I have yet to see the name of such pope or the date that this transaction took place anywhere. Since most believe that today's Jews are Yahuwah's original people and they keep a Saturday Sabbath. When statements like the Pope changed the Sabbath to Sunday is used, this leads one to believe that the Sabbath was changed from Saturday to Sunday. Sun worship and Sunday worship predates Constantine's decree. The question we should address is, at the time in question, did the Rome Empire observe Saturday as Sabbath and then change to Sunday? The answer is no. The scripture states that they would think to change times and laws. If they could change Yahuwah's ordinance, they would. His people, however, who know his ordinance will always keep his laws.
Amen. And I just want to show you this. She states that this is what the prophecy says, that they would change times and law. But my Bible says they would think. If I think I have $1 million, I really don't believe I have it. So think does not mean this is what happened. It says they would think to change. But where it is, they cannot change it. But remember, the calendar that they're playing around belongs to them. They can change it at any time they want, because it is theirs. I have seen Catholic priests aligned with the Seventh-day Adventists and others who are now coming out saying that, yes, we, the Roman Catholic Church, did change the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday. If you choose to believe this lie, you can also believe that Peter was the first Pope of Rome. You can also believe that Messiah was born on Christmas Day. Let's see why. Let us leave this subject for a little while to prove the facts. Let's take a look at something. One thing Saturday observers do not take into consideration is that the Sabbath was given to the children of Israel only, not to Rome. Exodus chapter 19, verse 20, Exodus chapter 31, verse 13, and I think other places. Why then do you teach that pagan Greco-Rome, whose religion was polytheistic, worshippers of many gods and goddesses, changed from a Saturday Sabbath to a Sunday Sabbath by decree? Are you really saying that these worshippers of the sun were observing the Hebrew Sabbath and have kept it perfectly in sync throughout time, and today is defining it as Saturday? Is this what you're really saying? We'll show you why that doesn't make sense. The facts show that when Constantine changed the laws in favor of Rome, Christianity and the fact shows that when Constantine changed the laws in favor of Roman Christianity and protected them, they did the opposite for the Jews, who were using a lunar calendar at that time and dependent on the crescent of the moon to calculate their feast. Now, we know they were using a lunar calendar. It tells us that, and it tells us Rome themselves were using a lunar calendar. And I guess their calendar was based only on the moon. Many laws were changed to oppress the Jews at that time. In BC 135, serious Roman persecution of the Jews began. They were forbidden upon pain of death from practicing circumcision or reading the Torah, eating unleavened bread at Passover, etc. So what we're saying here is that when Christianity started taking effect and those laws went into place, they were not for the Jews. They were not for the Hebrews. They were against them. So why would you take something you were against to practice? Let's continue. A temple dedicated to the Roman pagan god Jupiter was erected on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. A temple of Venus was built on Golgotha, just outside the city. The temples were burnt. Christians hated the Jews and didn't follow their customs. It was illegal to marry, join, or follow the custom of Jews. So why would you believe that this Christian kingdom followed Jewish Saturday Sabbath? Now again, when Constantine put his decree together, if you would look it up, you would also see that they also segregated themselves from any Jewish practices. If you wanted to follow the Jews, as we read earlier, you would be killed. This is why they made sure that the Easter did not fall at the same time with the Jewish Passover. Okay, so this is why they have a set time for that purpose. They didn't want their feasts to fall together. So this we need to take into consideration when we talk about the Romans kept a Jewish system intact and kept Saturday Sabbath for us. let's see what type of people the Greeks and the Romans were and their decrees. Okay, so a lot of people don't know this, so let's take a look and see what it was like living among them. First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 41. We could read the whole book, but for this study, we'll just read from verse 41.
Verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote his, let me redo that again. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws.
Okay.
So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Verse 43. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath.
Okay, so we see what's happening here. Remember, people are saying that these people, the Greeks and the Romans, hold on to the Sabbath for them, because remember, they're saying that they changed it from Saturday to Sunday. You cannot hold on to something that wasn't there. Now look at the conditions of the Jews, the Hebrews. Look at what they did to them. So if this is the type of practice and the way that they treat them, why would they hold a Sabbath in place for you? Continue, 44.
44. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the city of Judea, that they should follow the strange laws of the land. 45. And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath and festivals days.
Okay, but look at this. Why would they keep a Sabbath intact for you? And right now, the book is telling you that they profane the Sabbath. How could you profane a Sabbath and keep it? Continue.
47.
6.
46. And pollute the sanctuary and holy people. 47. Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts.
Okay, look at this. I mean, they set up altars and groves, place of worship in the bush, and chapels and of idols. So we're seeing that the opposite of what they are trying to tell us. These people had no respect for the Father. Instead, they had their own things. They made their own idols. And you still see them in the churches up to today. The idols are not hidden. They are still there. Go ahead, 48.
That they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. To end, verse 49, to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. Okay, 1 second there now. If they cause Israel to forget their laws and change the ordinances, you think Rome will then remember them and keep them for you? Oh, I'm sorry. Continue. 50. Verse 50. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
Okay, so that is your portion. I'm sorry. Let's see why this isn't true. Okay, where they are saying that Rome has kept a Sabbath for us unscathed. And we know that it has never changed from the day the Creator said, let us make man. These have never changed until today. Let's continue. 2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 1. Verse 1 to 6. I will start from 6.
Verse 6. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. Verse 8. Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor city of the heathen by the suggestion of the Ptolemy against the Jews, that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices. Verse 9, and whoso would not conform themselves to the manner of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery.
Okay, so there we have it. It says if you didn't keep those laws, you would die. So I guess if the people or the government or whoever that would keep the Jewish customs hidden for you would be dead. So the whole thing doesn't make any sense. Let's continue though.
Verse 10. For there were 2 women brought, whom had circumcised their children, whom when they had openly led round about the city, the babes hanging at their breasts, they cast them down headlong from the wall.
Go ahead.
Verse 11. And others that had run together into caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly, being discovered by Felix, were all burned together, because they made us conscience to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day.
Okay, so we see the treatment that they had. I find it very difficult to understand why would somebody say these people were the ones who kept the Sabbath intact for them and have changed it from Saturday to Sunday because they followed. Do you see any light of anything that shows that these people were keeping any Sabbath intact for you? Let's continue.
Verse 10. I just read that one.
Oh, we just did this? I'm sorry. Okay. Now, does this sound like the Greeks and Romans feared Yahuwah of the Jews and kept their Sabbaths? It doesn't sound so to me, but what can I say? Well, many will tell you that this book isn't canon. Well, the Apocrypha, they will tell you we don't want to hear nothing from. So let's go to one of the books that is canon and well accepted by every nation. Let's see if what was going on during those early years. Let's read Acts 14, and we're going to read from 10.
Verse 10 said with a loud voice, stand upright on thy feet. And he leaped and walked. Verse 11. And when the people saw Paul had done, they lift up their voices, saying in a speech of Lycaonia, the mighty ones are come down to us in likeness of men. Verse 12. And they called Barnabas Jupiter and Paul Mercurius, because he was the chief speaker. Verse 13. Then the priest of Jupiter, which was before their city, brought oxen and garlands unto the gates, and would have done sacrifice with the people. Okay,
so we see the same pattern there. These people worship men. And look at the names. Jupiter, that's the name of their gods, and so on. They were trying to name Paul and the others according to their gods. They wanted to worship them. So we still see in the days of Paul the pattern where these people, or the Greeks and the Romans, did not have no Saturday's Sabbath assigned or hidden place for anybody to keep. Let's continue.
Verse 14. Which when the apostles Barnabas and Paul heard of, they rent their clothes and ran in among the people, crying out, and saying, Sir, why do ye these things? We also are men of like passion with you, and preach unto you that he should turn from these vanities unto the living Elohim, which made heaven and earth and the sea and all things that are therein. Verse 16. Who in time past suffered all nations to walk in their own ways.
Now, I hope we see this. Back in verse 15, Paul is introducing them to who? To Elohim, which made heaven and earth, the sea, and all the things that are in it. Now, if we say these men were so holy that they kept a Sabbath arranged and fixed for us, who are they keeping the Sabbath to? They don't even know who the Father was. You know, so before we say these things, or before we can hold these traditions, we need to see these things. Continue. Acts 14, verse 17.
Verse 17. Nevertheless, he left not himself without witness, in that he did good and gave us rain from heaven and fruitful seasons, filling our hearts with food and gladness. Verse 18. And with this saying, secret restrained they the people that they had not done sacrifice unto them. Verse 19. And there came hither certain Jews from Antioch and Iconium, who persuaded the people, and having stoned Paul, drew him out of the city, supposing he had been dead.
Okay, so there we are again. Paul finishes introduction to these people, telling them who the Father is and how he sent rain and food and resides in heaven and all these things. Why would you introduce people that was already keeping these things to the Father and had already kept a Sabbath that the Father had given to his people? The whole thing doesn't make any sense. Greeks and Romans. Are these people, are those the people who have saved your 7-day or your Saturday Sabbath? Have they saved a continuous weekly cycle that has never been broken, changed, or lost? I don't think so. Let's continue. Yahuwah or gods. It is clear that the Greek and Romans didn't worship and adore Yahuwah of Israel. They were worshippers of idols and of men like themselves, who they name everything, including the months of the year and the days after. As you can see from the pendants up here, these are the different gods that they name: Januarius, Februarius, and so on, after their gods. Okay, well, this will be the last portion, a few more pages, and this will be done. Sun worship. The Gregorian calendar is a Christian calendar which is ruled and dedicated by the sun, created by a people who worship the sun. As you look at the picture in the bottom there, the two basically are the same. This is a picture of the Roman Catholic sun worship containing the Eucharist, that is that thing above the guy's head there. Notice the same image of the sun as the above Egyptian sun worship on your right. As an ancient symbol of the sun gods worshiping in Assyria. Notice the crescent moon holding the sun god. Okay, so it's the same thing from ages ago. If you tell me this was preserved, if you tell me what's on your left is preserved from what's on your right, I would say yes, because you can see the same pattern. The people worshiping the god, the sun, the moon, and the stars. Let's continue. Sun worship. The priest or the pope sometimes holds up the sun-boss monstrance. I believe it's pronounced monstrance. Strands or strengths, which the host, in case for, let me start over. The priest or the pope sometimes hold up the sun-boss monstrance, which with the host encased for the congregation to adore and venerate. And I put the word venerate there so we can see what it means. They are serious. They're not playing around. Okay. To regard with great respect, to revere. Mother Teresa, I think most of us knew who she was. She was one of the, a nun, I think it was, for the Catholic system. And he's telling her Mother Teresa is venerated as a saint. So she is in the same position as the Heavenly Father. The saints are also held in high esteem as Messiah would be, or the Heavenly Father. Okay, synonyms for venerate would be to revere, to regard highly, reverence, to worship, to hallow, to hold sacred, to exalt, to vaunt, adore, to honor, to respect, to esteem. In other words, it just takes the place of the Messiah. Okay? So this monastress, that thing the guy has in his hand, is what takes the place of our Messiah. Okay? Virtually any time the monastress, which is that thing in his hand again, the pagan sun god symbol, is viewed by the congregation or the Catholic congregation, they kneel in submission. A Catholic cannot walk past this sun symbol without acknowledging it by kneeling and or making the sign of the cross with their hand. Okay, so they have to drop to one knee and make the sign of the cross. As a young child going to the Catholic Church, I saw that and I didn't know what it meant, but I guess now we can see. Sun worship. On the cover of February 2000 edition of Envoy magazine, a Catholic publication, an elevated consecrated host of the the enhanced
Eucharist.
The Eucharist. Okay, let's do that again. A Catholic publication, an elevated consecrated host of the Eucharist, okay, and is unmistakably depicted as the bright yellow sun disk against the background of the cloudy blue sky. So I guess what that means to them is that they have the word God there. So that means that that represents the sun. The Eucharist, the round thing here, represents the sun. And as you can see, it is giving light to the sky, according to them. Okay, so to them, that means quite a bit. Oh, that is the last slide. I was trying to continue, but that's the last. So this is where we're going to stop for today's Sabbath. I think we had quite a bit that we can look back at and study. And we can see from what we have here that there's no way that the Romans or the Greeks had saved Saturday as a Sabbath for us. There's no way that can happen. As we see the turbulence that this Saturday or the days of the week and the months and the years has been through. Now we're going to go deeper into that in our next session. Like I said, I don't want to give you all of it, and my tongue is well tied up right now, so I will need some time to release my tongue a little bit, and we'll go a little further. So this is the end of this presentation, and I'm going to turn back to Yona.
All right, Mishpachah. All right, all praises to our King. As everyone can see, let me get my video going. Okay, so here I am.
All right, great.
All right, so as everyone can see, the way that the system was set up before, brothers, especially looking at the year of confusion. Let me see if I can, Brother Felix, if you don't mind, let me see, close out your, I think you still have your shared screen up?
No, I didn't, but we can do that again. I can share it.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Sure, okay.
No.
So if you do, let me see if we can pull this up real quick. I'll try not to be too long. If you type in, because this is important for us to take a look at. Just give me one moment. Okay, so let me pull my screen up. It's over here. So everyone can see it. Just give me one moment. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to take a look. As the brother mentioned, it says the year of confusion. I just did a quick search. You can see it up on the screen. And it does speak about this
Yeah.
year, therefore, had 445 days. So you can see that there was problems in time past, Mishpachah. And a lot of times we don't know this information because what they like to do is press a reset, an imaginary reset button, historically speaking, and the evidence would just go right away. And from here on, we believe that it's almost like bankruptcy. They just click, file bankruptcy, and automatically all the information just
Disappear.
disappears. But the garbage is still there, right? And that's how they operated. So we can't walk around and say, well, Saturday has always been the seventh day, and the seventh day has always been Saturday. That's very erroneous, okay? The Most High put his thing there for a reason, his luminaries. Now, when I looked at this, this is the one. So let me make it bigger. The longest year in history. There is a certain scholar, Richard Armstrong, that speaks about this huge year. And he also speaks about, he says, before Caesar's reform, this Roman calendar was a terrible mess. They mentioned that originally it was based on the moon, not the sun.
Yep.
You see? Lunar calendars take their dates from observed lunar phases, new moon to full moon, and back again. It mentions that the priests of Rome juggled a shifting 12-month calendar that ran at least 10 days behind the solar year. In theory, they would tack an additional days onto February every other year to make calendar dates coincide more with the natural season. You see that? But this meant that the priest had to pay attention. Let me read it again. This meant that the priest had to pay attention and make adjusting the calendar a serious priority. So this clearly shows, Mishpachah, that if you don't pay close attention, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And they knew it back then, right? However, the years before Caesar's rise to power were extremely turbulent. The calendar slipped farther and farther behind amid all political turmoil. So when the politics ramped itself up, then the calendar slipped behind because you had one thing giving way to the other. Harvest festivals no longer fell at harvest time. Okay? So you can see how the problems were there. And y'all can read the rest of it, but let me see if it can skip on down. So I think that's basically it. All right. So the evidence is out there, Mishpachah, that there were problems before. So we cannot have this assumption that problems didn't exist. That can really throw things off today. That's why we have to go back to the natural cycle of things, the way the Most High set his order, not these artificial things. I mean, in the future, we're going to have people who are synthetically designed. Are we going to call them humans too? Huh? Cells, are we going to call a patty, when you want to make your beef burger or whatever, we're going to call a patty hamburger or beef burger when it was genetically grown in a laboratory with a stem cell from the toe of a cow merged with the fat of a pig or whatever. So we can't look at labels to define truth. We have to let truth stand on its own, Mishpachah. I hope that makes sense. So does anyone have any questions for our dear brother, Felix? Let me stop my share. Does anyone have any questions for our brother Felix? Just raise your hand, and I will see it, and I will move you over to the talking side.
Or if you want to say something too, that's fine. A comment is fine. If you have no
We do
questions.
have Brother Doug. Let me move Brother Doug over. Shalom, Brother Doug.
Okay, yeah, I think I moved over.
Yes. You're all
Shabbat Shalom, family. I just wanted to thank you, Brother Felix, and your wife for all of these teachings. I'm so glad that you're able to do them over again because I think I mentioned this before. You did it last year. You put all that hard work in and the quality wasn't so good. So this year it's much better. And I just wanted to share with the family. I was saying during our midday tefillah about all this entire subject matter. I can remember a few years ago when I first found this ministry and I was enjoying the teachings, and when it came down to the Shabbat, I was so disappointed to find out when I found out that they were keeping it this way. But as you continue to listen and learn, I learned that it was accurate, and now it's just keeping it according to the Creator's calendar. I mean, it's just a great feeling. That Saturday Shabbat it had became very stagnant, and then now and again we keep and we found out that it's only pretty much a 12-hour period. So we were doing things a lot harder than the way that they were intended. So I just thank all of you guys for putting out this truth to this capacity, much needed. And I look forward to hearing the rest of your teachings, Brother Felix, on this subject.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
okay, Brother Doug. We're gonna move you back over. Okay, and anyone else would like to? All right, Sister Sophia, you want to grab a microphone over there? Sister Sophia is gonna make a comment or a question, I guess. Question, okay.
So thank you very much, Brother Felix, for the study.
Yes.
My family are Seventh-day Adventist. So we have been grown up and we have been taught the Saturday Sabbath, and I myself am actively researching it so that I can be fully persuaded in the truth. And as I said, I have been taught many things as a child and growing up as an adult, and I never questioned it. I always just assumed that what I was told was the truth until I found out who I was, and then I had to question everything I was told.
Yeah.
So when the subject came on the Shabbat, just like the brother said, that was a disappointment for me too, because I was like, wow, all the truth, and they keep a lunar thingy. So, but I kept listening, and as I said, you know what? I have been fed thus far, and what I was fed, I found to be accurate. Praises to the Most High. So I was willing to study this, and I really want to understand this for myself because this is important. It contains worship. It's about worship, and that is something with dress and all that stuff. It's good, but this is worship, and so I want to really understand this for myself. So my question is, I was told that Constantine changed the Shabbat from Saturday to Sunday, right? And that the Jews were keeping Saturday before he changed it, because that's that is what I was taught. Now, how would I be? That was my question. I always thought, then what was it that he changed? What was it that they were keeping Saturday, or how do we explain that portion of history?
Okay, let me see if we can tackle that just a little bit. Constantine came about later on after I believe it was the destruction of Jerusalem. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, from what I remember. So at that time, before Jerusalem was actually destroyed, Hillel had already went through the process of making Saturday the Shabbat. You had a lot of the Hellenized and the Roman, those Jews, those Hebrews who had actually made compromises before the destruction. And then a lot of these things stayed from that point on. What you find is that you have to look at the point when the leaders of Jerusalem started to adjust or make a fixed calendar, because before then it wasn't fixed. They always had to go out and look. And if you know how the topography of Israel is, there's a lot of hills and mountains, so people could actually go on top and look for the moon, witness it, and light a fire, and signal another person, another place, and that message will go all the way to Jerusalem. And then you had the council of priests who would certify from different regions that it was so, and then they will make that declaration that this is the first month, and so. But what happened is, when the Romans, in order to stave the Romans from totally destroying, they made a lot of compromises. Even with the and I don't want to be too long-winded, and I hope that already answers your question. But even with the priests themselves taking their role, their positions, like the high priest, instead of being there for a certain amount of time, according to the scriptures, they were changing frequently, almost like a political post. They would serve. You had high priests that were going in there and serving when they were not supposed to be serving. So yes, the calendar itself was fixed before Constantine came about. And so what happened is, when they were taken into Rome, at that time, they were just keeping up with whatever that was set up before the destruction. I hope that answers your question. Does that answer your question? It was fixed before Constantine came about. So when you see that the Jews were keeping Saturday, those Jews were the Jews who had already adopted a fixed calendar before the Constantine came about. Yeah. So it's the same way that you find, even with the names of our people, when you read the New Testament, you see, if you go to the book of Acts, you'll see that Barnabas' name, his name was Joseph first, and it was changed to Barnabas. You find a lot of names that were changed later on to these Roman and Greek names, especially when you read the Apocrypha. You can see the names were changed to Jason and whatnot. So when you read the Bible, you're thinking these were Greek people, but these were Hellenized Jews, Israelites, who had names just like you and I today. We all have these Hellenized, these European names and whatnot. Yeah, and people think that we are Americans or whatever the case may be, but no, we are Hebrews. We're just looking at things from the change perspective and not who we are as a people. Any other questions? Let's see. Brother Felix, was there something you wanted to say in addition to what I mentioned?
No, you covered it very well. And like I mentioned earlier, I see on TV, there's a lot of people coming in, different priests, along with I have only seen with the Adventist church, I haven't seen anybody else, where they come in and say, yes, we have changed the Sabbath, the Jewish Sabbath, from Saturday to Sunday. But again, when we look at the lifestyle of these people, they are not religious people that they would keep something sacred for you.
Right.
As a matter of fact, they fought against the Jews. They didn't like them. And they said, we will not keep their ways. We will not do anything that looks like Jewish. So that is why we don't have Passover among the Christians. They have Lord's Supper or some other something, because they don't want to look Jewish. So why would they keep any Sabbath?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, on our website, let me see if we can pull it up real quick. I do have the Constantine's Creed that you all can look at. Let me see. I'll show you all in a second. Oh, that's not what I want. We do have the Constantine's, here it is. And let me share my screen so y'all can see it. It's over here. Just give me 1 second, Mishpachah. So again, if you go to our website, you can be able to see the Constantine's Creed, both in the English. It says, I renounce all customs, rites, legalisms, unleavened bread, sacrifices of lambs of the Hebrews, in all of the feasts of the Hebrews, sacrifices, prayers, aspirations, purifications, sanctifications, appropriations, fasts, new moons, Shabbats, superstitions, hymns, chants, observance of synagogues, and of the food and drink of the Hebrews. In one word, I renounce everything Jewish, legalism,
Yes.
customs, rights,
Sabbath.
above all, he who is expected by all the Jews in the shape and dress of Christ. I renounce Antichrist and join myself to the true Christ of God. And I believe in the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and the Holy, and it goes on, Trinity and whatnot. And it says, and then you pronounce the leprosy of Gehazi upon yourself, and you also put a curse, okay, upon yourself, okay. But then you say in opposition, you say, well, I accept the customs and so forth of the Romans, sacrifices, prayers, and so forth of the high priest of Rome. Now, if you go down below, you can see the whole thing in the actual Latin. What we just read before, here it is in Latin. So if you're good in Latin, you can give it a shot. You can grab the mic. Yeah.
I just noticed that their new moon is Sunday, so they're always starting their week.
The week with Sunday. And that is interesting when Brother Felix mentioned about the first day was dedicated to the God that they worship. What do we call the first new moon day? That time is a time that we should worship the Most High. It's not a Shabbat, but we worship Him on that day. So we see how there's a counterfeit to everything that we're doing. Okay, so there it is in Latin, all of it. Cantibus, cantisius, and whatever it is. All right, Mishpachah. Close this out. Stop this. Looks like screen got kind of messed up there. All right, family. Any other comments or questions? Let's see if there's any hands raised. If there's any comments or questions, you could raise your hand.
Yes, and we're going to continue next week, if life spare, from where we stopped. And there's 2 more presentations concerning that, and we're going to try to cover as much as we can so that you have a good idea as to the history of those calendars.
All right, that sounds great. Okay, we have one. We have Sister Givens. Let me move you over to the other side. Okay. Sister Givens, let's unmute you. What's on your mind, sis?
I was just thinking about what you were just reading, that was that the Constantine Creed?
Uh-huh.
And it seems to me that in one breath, he was saying he rejected everything that was
Jewish.
Of the Jews. But by the same token, it seems as though they were trying to take ideals that came from the Hebrews and come up with their own way of claiming it as theirs by superimposing whatever it is their beliefs were on top of whatever the Jews were doing. But by the same token, they were saying that they reject the Jews' practices and worship and all the different things that made up the customs and the rituals and what have you of the so-called Jews or Israelites. Looked like they were rejecting it with one hand, but by the same token, they want to use it.
That's right. That is correct.
They had the counterfeits. They reject the Jews, but they would bring the counterfeits. No Passover, but we have Lord's Supper.
That's a lot of nerve.
Well, the nerve will be dealt with. Remember Revelations chapter 19. The Bible says that he will be coming on a white horse. And as a matter of fact, let me go there real quick. Let's go there real quick. Then we're gonna say shalom to the Mishpachah.
Okay. Thank you. I just want to make that comment.
You're welcome, sis. Thank you so much. I'll move you back over to the other side. Let's see. Okay, we have one more who has Brother Shamar. Let's move you over. And then we'll read the scriptures afterwards. Brother Shamar, what's on your mind?
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. You may want to speak up just a little bit. Get a little closer.
Can you hear me now?
Very clear. Go ahead, brother.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to say that with everything that the Most High does, remember that the enemy wants to be God himself. So he's going to make a counterfeit of it all. If you look at the churches today, in a sense, they try their best to counterfeit what the temple back in the day would look like. On the holy days, you have holidays. So most of the stuff that we see today is actually a counterfeit of the truth. Exactly. But if you look at it very carefully, that is the actual lie that most people won't see, because they teach it to us like as if it's truth and as a custom. It's kind of like that sodomite movement they're doing with the little children. You teach them to believe that there's something that they're not, and by the time they reach the age of understanding, it's already embedded in them. That's exactly what churches do today, from back in the day, even up to today. And Esau is famous for taking part of what we have established as truth and then mixing a little bit of Jim Jones Kool-Aid with it and then giving it back to us as fruit punch. You know, but that's exactly what they've been doing. That's exactly what they always do in order to keep us, you know, separated from the Most High. It's kind of like, I'm going to put a little poison in the water and then I'm going to give it back to you purified. And then when you drink it, it tastes better. But the truth is, it actually tastes worse. It's actually not good for you. So I just wanted to share that.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you so much.
Oh, by the way, excellent class.
You're welcome.
All praises to our King. So I'll move you back over. Let's see. All right, Mishpachah. Now, in the book of Revelations, chapter 19, verses 11, it speaks about the Messiah returning back on a white horse. Yeah. And it mentions when you go over to verses 13, it says that his clothing is dipped in blood. His vesture is dipped in blood. And he's coming to fight against, verses 15, and out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword with which he shall smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. Now, when we go back to the prophets to look at the reasons why his clothes is dipped in blood, you'll find that the first peoples that he goes to is Edom. In Isaiah chapter 63, verses 1 to 4, there's a question that has been asked. Why is this? Let's go there real quick. Isaiah 63 and verses 1. Can you read for me real quick? 63 and verses 1. So y'all can turn the Bibles. I'm not going to pull it up on the screen because we're going to shut it down in a moment. Everyone can just turn real quick to Isaiah 63, and we're going to read verses 1. We're going to skip down just a little bit. So read verses 1. It's a question that has been asked, okay? So when you connect the dots from Revelations 19, where he's coming and his clothes is dipped in blood, Isaiah gives you the connection piece to let us know why he's going to wage war, because as a sister saying, you know, these people are very bold in what they're doing, but he's going to come back and he's going to beat all those bold ones over the head. Okay, he's going to deal with those people who has messed this whole earth up. So let's read. Go ahead and read son?
Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Bozrah? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength.
So when you read Revelations, it sees that he's traveling with strength, right? Go ahead and continue on.
I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine
So
fat?
now they're asking another question. Why are your clothes red, as if you were working in crushing grapes? Right? Read.
I have trodden the winepress alone.
This is the answer. He says, I have done this alone. Read.
And of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury.
No, with joy to the world.
And will trample them in my fury. And their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments.
That answers Revelations 19. Read.
And I will stain all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in mine heart.
No, the day of peace and joy and goodwill to all mankind.
For the day of vengeance is in mine heart.
Read.
And the year of my redeemed is come.
All right, that's all we need. So again, it tells you, the question is, who is this person coming with his clothes stained in red from Edom? What is he doing in Edom? Because Edom is the one that is messing up everything upon the face of this earth. See that? So we can stop here, and we have clear understanding. And if you read the book of Jasher, it tells you that the Edomite family migrated up into Rome, and they became the powers of Rome. And from that point on, they have saturated Europe, and their tentacles are stretched all over this earth. Brother Shamar, you want to say one last thing? And then, as a matter of fact, Brother Shamar, stay close by.
Yes, I wanted to say that Psalms 52 also ties into what you just read in Revelation 19. Because if you read Psalm 52, you'll see exactly who Edom is when David was speaking about Doeg. Basically, the Edomite that came and told Saul and said to him that David has come to the house of Ahimelech. And remember, he also killed that priest and ended up killing that priest too. So you'll know exactly who is speaking about when Mosai said that he's going to destroy Edom completely.
Absolutely. All right, brother. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So let us close out. I hope everyone has enjoyed today's class. Brother Felix, excellent job, as was stated before. And I pray that the Most High continue to use you to bring understanding to our people. And, you know, even with a little bit of sarcasm, is to help to uplift, and bring some humor, is needed for our understanding. But for some people, they don't like sarcasm too much. It offends. So, you know, we have to have a little thicker skin as Israelites, okay? So, all praises to our King. Let us all close out with Vazot HaTorah. As you all can see, hopefully, let me see, stop here. Let me make sure that everyone can see it. Sometimes our screens act a little strange. Everyone can see the Vazot HaTorah? Okay, Brother Zephaniah, looks like you wanted to say something, but your typing skills, your typewriter's a little off. So you got some strange language there. Okay, Vazot HaTorah, let's close out that.
Vazot HaTorah Asher Zayem
Moshe
Lifnei Yisrael Api Adonai B'yad Moshe.
This is the Torah that Moses placed before the children of Israel at the command of Yahuwah through Moses' hand. We're going to sing the Hayitz Kayim He.
Hayitz Kayim He Lama Kazinkim Ba V'to Mekeha Meosha Tevakeha Darke Noam V'kol Nativoteha Shalom Shivenu Adonai Eleka benan shuva. Kadesh, Kadesh Yamenu, Kadesh Yamenu, Keke.
It is a tree of life to those who took hold of it, and those who support it are praiseworthy. Its ways are the ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. Bring us back, Yahuwah, to you, and we shall come, renew our days as of old. Let's have a word of prayer, and we'll close out, and then I'll sing the Aaronic blessing in our King's name. Abba, we are grateful to you for your love and your mercy, which truly endures forever. Thanking you for this opportunity that we've had today, and we ask that it continues to burn bright in our hearts, this opportunity of learning your Torah and to return back to the ways of our forefathers. Abba, I pray that you'll also bless the offerings and everything that has been brought forth by every heart, free will offerings accordingly, that you bless it, that you also bless the house of Israel. As you have set a system in place for our people, help us to learn and to understand the ways of our forefathers and to return back to the Torah. Bless Brother Felix and his family. Bless each of our families, far and near, those in the chat room, those across the earth, those of Israel watching this later on YouTube or other formats. I pray that you bless them likewise and keep them. Help us to never forget Jerusalem. Help us to always pray that you will restore Jerusalem and bring us back to our places. Abba, we love you. We thank you. May your name be praised forever. We also thank you for the special visitation by our sister from Alaska. Bless her and keep her and her family likewise. May your name be praised forever, our King. In Yeshua's name we pray. Amen. Hallelujah. Ivareka Adonai, Vishmarecha, Yahari Adonai Panavalaka, Vikunecha, Yisa Adonai, Pahanavelecha, Vyasem Lecha, Shalom. Yahuwah bless you and keep you. Yahuwah make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shabbat Shalom, family. Shabbat Shalom. May the Most High bless and keep you all in Yeshua's precious name.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Shabbat Shalom. Love you all. Stay strong. Stay sharp.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.